But Radhika Pandey is also here with us. Radhika, how do you analyze the importance of today's meet? My colleague was saying that probably a decision on phased transfer of reserves could happen, and the first one could be 1 lakh crore. What are your thoughts?
So I think it's an important development. It's an important milestone because at least now there will be some kind of a framework for allocation of surplus reserves from the Reserve Bank to the central government. Till now, it was based on ad hoc committees set up once in some years to decide on what is the amount that needs to be transferred from RBI to the central government. Hopefully, this committee will give us some framework for the allocation of reserves from government to the central bank. So to that extent, it's an important development as we are given to understand that it would be some kind of a phased transfer. But nevertheless, it is very important for us to have a framework, some kind of a formula, some kind of a calculation, some objective criteria to determine the allocation of reserves from the central bank to the government.
Say the allocation of reserves to the tune of 90,000 odd crores does happen. That coupled with the host of announcements made by the finance minister, would they be good enough to address the economic issues that we're currently facing?
So the government has announced 70,000 crore upfront payment of recapitalization package to the public sector banks, and we see that other than this liability, there are a host of other budget liabilities, as a result of which the headline fiscal deficit is under suspicion. We don't think that it will be around 3.3% of GDP. So towards that extent, this transfer holds is a significant development. And even if we look at the budget numbers, a significant amount has been pegged for the allocation of transfer of reserves from RBI to central government. So in terms of the non-tax revenues, the government is relying sizably on RBI's surplus transfers, and rightly so. If optimally, if it can be used for retiring some debt or for reducing fiscal development, it will be an optimal move.
Right. So how soon do you think these tranches to be transferred to the government's pocket? And also, what are some other key commentaries and key things that you would like to watch out for when it is made open to the public?
So one of the key elements is that, what is the criteria for the transfer of reserves? Because if you look at the RBI Act, Section 47, it really does not give us any guidance on what is the amount that should be transferred from RBI to the central government. It is decided by RBI itself. But if we look at some commentaries, there are papers by the former chief economic advisor also, which talks about cross-country experiences of how much reserves is transferred from central bank to government. And we see that India really lies as an outlier because around 26 to 27% of reserves of the total assets of RBI are held by the central bank. So RBI is holding a lot of reserves, and there are lots of debates on what is the optimal level of reserves that RBI should hold, and the rest should be transferred to the central government. So I think what my key takeaway would be, what are the various elements of risks that this report is looking at, and what is the proportion that is allocated for each category of risk. So if there's some market risk or exchange rate risk, what is the committee's perception on those risks and how the central bank should manage those risks to provision some amount for those risks and the rest to be transferred. So there needs to be some, understanding, some debate, some public policy discourse on the kind of risks that are held by Central Bank of India, as opposed to, some other small open economies or banks of other European countries, because they are directly involved in recapitalization of public sector banks, whereas our central bank is not involved in recapitalization. So ideally, the report should talk about what are the kinds of risks and what is the provisioning to be made for each risk, and so that the additional amount should be transferred in an optimal, transparent manner from the central bank to the government.
Right, Radhika. Great hearing out your perspective on this as well. Thank you so much for joining us.